Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney has a mission. This one doesn't involve flying his F-16 as he did over 3 tours of duty in Iraq. No, this new mission is very different, but equally important. Dan Rooney is the founder of Folds of Honor.
It's one of those dark, delayed nights in Chicago O'Hare, and I finally got on this flight, United Flight 664, on the way to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to my day job as a golf professional. And as I walked through first class, I noticed there was a corporal in dress army greens. Didn't think much of it, and I pressed on back to coach, and about an hour later, we touched down in Grand Rapids. As we pull into the gate, the captain comes over the intercom and announces that we're carrying the remains of Corporal Brock Buckland on this flight who'd been killed in Iraq. And his identical twin brother, Corporal Brad Buckland, was in first class and had brought him the 7,000 miles home. As I walked off that flight, I felt a hand on my shoulder. And the only thing I know for certain is it was the hand of God. And I was called on a mission, and we have an anthem in my house, Go Before You're Ready. And it's exactly what we did. My wife and I had no idea what we were doing, how to start a nonprofit, didn't have any money, but we went because our hearts were on fire.
Folds of Honor is a nonprofit foundation that provides scholarships to spouses and children of Americans' fallen and disabled service members.
My name is Jerly Torian, and I'm the widow of Marine Master Sergeant Aaron Torian.
My name's Tiffany Eckert, and my husband was Sergeant Andy Eckert. He was in the Army. He was killed Mother's Day 2005.
I think he'd be proud. I think he'd be honored that, people think enough of what he did for our country to donate to an organization like Folds.
Quite literally, Folds of Honor has changed the trajectory of my children's lives. I am also a Folds of Honor recipient. I went back to school in fall of 2020.
Golf is a game that brings people together, brings families together. In fact, the game is often passed from one generation to the next. So it was only natural for Dan to make golf a central component to his fundraising efforts, especially given Dan is a passionate golfer in his own right and a Class A member of the PGA of America.
To start Folds of Honor, we turned to the game of golf. Patriot Golf Day, our national fundraiser, which has now raised over $50 million, asking golfers to play the most heroic round of the year on Memorial Day each and every year with our great partners at the PGA of America, USGA, Titleist, and so many others that encourage golfers to use their passion for the game to ultimately force multiply and change the life of a military family.
We see the future of the Titleist and Folds of Honor partnerships with a lot of possibilities, and we're both really committed to educating the families of those service members who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
Titleist is proud to partner with Folds of Honor in helping the children and spouses of the men and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. We believe, as Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney does, that when a flag folds, the mission goes on.